Der Spiegel isn't out of the woods yet. In fact, the U.S. ambassador to Germany has called for an independent investigation into what he sees as institutional bias and anti-American narratives. And with more on this developing story, we're joined by DW's digital reporter, William Noah Gluckroft. Thank you for joining us. So what exactly did the ambassador say?
So America's ambassador to Germany, Richard Grenell, yesterday wrote a letter to the Spiegel, basically using what appears to be a one-off, albeit very extreme case of a journalist lying to paint a bigger picture of bias and anti-Americanism at the magazine. The Spiegel has the letter, published it. We have it here. It says, "It's clear we, the United States, were targeted by institutional bias." He goes on to say that, quote, "reporters are responding to what leadership wants," accusing Spiegel of allowing this atmosphere of bias to flourish. Grenell ends the letter by calling for an open, independent investigation into this so-called blatant anti-Americanism at Spiegel.
So is he casting his net a little too wide here, or is he right for castigating Der Spiegel?
Right. Well, of course, Spiegel pushes back a bit. They published a letter of their own today in response to Grenell's letter. We have that as well. In it, the deputy editor-in-chief says he admits that the magazine's safeguarding and verification processes failed in this case. But then he says that Grenell's bigger picture criticism, drawing a line between criticizing the U.S. president and anti-American bias. He writes, quote, "Anti-Americanism is deeply alien to me, and I am absolutely aware of what Germany has the U.S. to thank for, a whole lot. Der Spiegel harbors no institutional bias against the United States." And of course, this story would not be complete if it didn't spill onto Twitter.
Obviously.
Richard Grenell posted a tweet to further his claim on Twitter. We have that. It's a claim of several Spiegel covers from the past in which he writes, "Der Spiegel says they don't have any anti-American bias, but the facts tell a different story. Below are only a few examples." Now, of course, our more observant viewers might notice that many of these covers are from the George W. Bush era, so a little bit dated. Of course, the Spiegel has been criticized for many rather blunt, similar covers in the Trump era. His critics went after, though, his broad brushstrokes. A reporter from the German public broadcaster ZDF got involved. He interjected, "Every real journalist is outraged by the fabricated stories," he said to Richard Grenell on Twitter, "but every journalist should be outraged by what you, the ambassador, make of it too. You yourself are critical about German politics, but nobody calls you anti-German." So he and Grenell then went back and forth on Twitter on these varying points of view all through this morning.
So where does this story go? I mean, at the moment, the institution of Der Spiegel, its integrity is on the line. How do they get out of that? And do we just keep seeing back and forth letters on Twitter?
Right. So, you know, the current issue, they go through a long investigation of how this all happened. They apologize time and again. Government officials complaining about unfavorable news coverage is, of course, nothing new. It's certainly not unique to the Trump administration. I mean, I have here, this is from 2015, from Barack Obama's ambassador to Germany, writing a very similar letter about Spiegel's coverage about U.S. sanctions in Russia. So that's nothing new. Criticism of Spiegel being rather outlandish with its reporting and its editorial and layout styles is also nothing new. And sadly, journalists occasionally lying and embellishing their stories is also nothing new. Spiegel is just the next in a long line of major news outlets who have to deal with this problem. But the stakes are a lot higher now. Donald Trump is one of the least truthful presidents in history. And as we saw in the report before, he and his ideological allies in Europe, for example, right here in Germany, do not need any excuses to call what we do fake. So when something in the news business, in the news media, actually is fake, it only makes their job easier and our job much harder.
Certainly. William Noah Gluckroft from our digital desk. Thank you.